Come on in, pull up a chair. The Gaming Gang Dispatch is in the air. Howdy, 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 gang. Welcome once again to the Duct Tape Studios. I'm Jeff McAleer, your host, here at the Gaming Gang Dispatch, brought to you by thegaminggang.com, which I happen to be the founder and editor-in-chief. Tonight is Monday, January 24th, 2022. This is live stream 743. So if this is your first time stopping by to check out the show, let me point out this week and probably into next is gonna be a little bit different than usual, and I will explain why. But normally, what we do around here is, for one, not take anything too seriously. We're certainly not performing rocket surgery by any stretch of the imagination. Just hanging out, talking about the latest in tabletop gaming. So usually the first half of the show is devoted to the latest in tabletop gaming news, and then I take a look at a tabletop game. Tonight, I am going to be taking a first look and paging through the award-winning and best-selling Old School Essentials Classic Fantasy Rules Tome. That just rolls off the tongue, don't it? This is from Necrotic Gnome and available in the U.S. in hardcover from Exalted Funeral. So we are going to be taking a look at this tonight because the Old School for the New Year's celebration rocks on all throughout January. So there's no news tonight, though, because a lot has been going on over the past few days. Mostly not great. So I'll be talking about that in just a moment. But before I do, let me also mention that if you like this video, by all means, please give it a quick thumbs up. Subscribe to the Gaming Gang channel if you haven't already. And if you do subscribe, don't forget, ding that bell. It'll not only let you know when I stream the Dispatch live Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday evenings right here on YouTube at 7 p.m. Central. But it'll also inform you when I upload other videos, such as my unboxing and first look at Tales from the Loop, the board game from Free League Publishing. This looks pretty interesting. If you have not checked out the unboxing video, looks kind of unique, and it looks like Free League is really aiming to try to bring like a role-playing feel to the board game. And I believe, if I remember correctly, I think there's 7 mysteries overall that your teenagers are going to try to solve throughout. Of course, when you're not watching videos on the Gaming Gang channel, be sure to visit thegaminggang.com for all latest in gaming news, reviews, and a whole lot more. You know the drill. Get your geek on at thegaminggang.com. Lastly, there is chat available. It's a live stream. Of course, there's going to be chat. It's not on screen, though. It's one of the ways that I keep some of the more unusual commenters at bay. And you must be a subscriber to the channel for at least 48 hours before you can take part in chat. Another way that I keep some of the more unusual commenters at bay as well. So far in chat, who do we got out the gate was Mr. Eddie T. It's me, Hunter, Luke, Anzalotti. John Vogel's with us. Helga Ratbones popped in, as well as 245 Trioxin. So chat is off and running. Sweet. Very cool. All right. So, lots been going on. So last Friday, get my usual morning routine, which is essentially I get up, grab some coffee, take my laptop, turn it on, take a look, see what's going on with my emails, check out the news, and then start getting ready for whatever videos I might be shooting that day. Or, of course, if it's a Monday, Tuesday, or Wednesday, I start putting together the news for that evening stream. So on Friday, I turn my laptop on and nothing happens. Nothing. There's no indication that there's power going to it. Got the what we like to call a power brick because it is a souped up laptop. It was running about $1,700 when I got it 2 years ago, although that's not what I paid for it. But that was approximately what it was going for. And 2 years to the day, it craps out. 2 years to the day I received it and turned it on for the first time, it was not working. That's mighty suspicious, wouldn't you say? Especially since the night before I shut it down, everything was great. No problem, no weird like noise. It's got a solid state drive. It doesn't have, a disk hard drive in it. So I was like, what the hell? But thankfully, I had the 3-year program on it, the 3-year warranty on it. So I had to ship that out. I had to jump through all these hoops to ship it on out. And who knows when I'm going to get it back. According to it's a company that's like owned by Allstate Insurance. Once they get it, it's about 2 to 5 days to repair it if they have the parts available. So Luke asks, what kind of laptop is it? It is an EVOO, EVOO, and it is out of China, no doubt. But it was actually, I want to say that Walmart still sells these. They're kind of their top of the line because, of course, Walmart is always trying to get their foot in the door as far as computers. They want to be a big computer supplier and not with HP and Dell and, third parties. They want their own deal. So, of course, it's a Chinese laptop that they slap on a different name. It's available from all different manufacturers, but it's actually a pretty rockin' rig. So all my software for doing the news, Photoshop, After Effects, all that stuff is on that laptop. And of course, absolutely no way to get the data off of it. Now, of course, I wasn't going to crack it open because normally I would. I would normally have opened it up and seen what was going on because another thing is the battery's inside. You can't take the battery out without taking the back or the bottom, I guess we'll say, off. It's not like a lot of laptops where, you snap the battery on, snap it off, and kind of go from there. Nope, it's built in. And I was like, well, I'm not going to take this apart and start looking at it because that's going to void this 3-year extended warranty I've got. So who knows? So for the foreseeable future, it's going to be kind of quiet over on thegaminggang.com. So I'm still going to do the shows. I'm still going to try to get some other videos out as well. But as far as like news items, things like that, next, 10 days maybe, it's going to be kind of quiet. So there is that. So that was Friday. So then the vet called and said Smokey's ashes were in. So I went and got Smokey's ashes. So there was that. And then I went and took a look at 2 cats for adoption. They were rescue cats and took one of them home because she's spayed already, and she's about 2 years old. And that is Layla, or as I'm referring to her as Lala, because I'm not one of these people who likes animals to have like human names. I think that's weird. I dated someone, she had a dog, and the dog's name was Richard. No joke. Richard the dog. And I thought that was super bizarre. So rather than calling her Layla, I am calling her Lala. And what a sweetie she is. She is this picture was taken an hour after she got here. That's how just completely at ease she has become here at the old homestead. And of course, I am going to make sure that she does not come down into the basement because it's too dusty and there's, oh, I'm sorry, Duct Tape Studios. My gosh, how did I? Oops. Forget I said basement. I didn't say basement. So, yes, Luke says La La Land. Yes. And what a sweetie. She started sleeping right next to me the first night she got here. So yes. So she is going to have her little friend, Mango, who is a kitten. We'll be picking her up on the 5th because she's going to be spayed on the 4th. So yes, there are a couple of rescue cats. And of course, Mango is an orange tabby. Super, super sweet little kitten too. Real gentle, not, insane like a lot of what kittens tend to be. So the Madman has joined us in chat. Good to see the Motor City Madman, one of our chat moderators, hanging out with us tonight as well. So that is Lala. And who just said Lola? So Viper Dave's with us. I don't think I said hello to Viper Dave. So yes, it was Layla, Layla. But another thing, I don't want a cat named after an Eric Clapton song either. So there's that. So crappy news, depressing news, and then something nice. So I definitely dug picking her up. And like I said, oh, and something else that's funny about the cat is she's talkative. She'll chirp at you. And if you talk to her, she kind of responds to you with little meows and little chirps, things like that. So she's a little fat, though. That's something we're going to have to work on. Her and I both actually lose some pounds there. All right. So, as I mentioned, if you are tuning in a little bit later, no news tonight because I had a laptop crash out. The laptop that provides all the graphics and everything else for the website and the show is off being repaired. God knows when I get it back. Oh, and the other thing I love about sending that out is that they can't guarantee that they won't just wipe everything off of it. It's like, geez, thanks. I don't really foresee you needing to like reinstall Windows. It's a power supply issue that's going on. Hopefully, maybe it was just a bad brick. I mean, that's a possibility. I just don't have anything to plug in as a replacement to see if that was what the problem was. Because it's very possible the brick crapped out and the battery ran out, and that's why nothing was showing up as far as power. So, Madman says, nice additions to the family. Yes, it's good. If you're not familiar with what happened within 8 days, we went from having 2 cats to no cats. So both of them ending up being put to sleep. So I was like, I didn't want to wait too long. Plus, I mean, granted, they were in a foster home, these two new cats, and looks like they were being cared for really well. But still, I mean, it's a foster home with other animals, and there were dogs there, and I could tell that Lala was a little nervous around the dogs, although the dogs were super nice. In fact, the dogs kept coming up to me with toys. I was like, you guys think I'm adopting you? It's like, what's going on? And the foster family was real nice as well. Okay, so no news tonight. We're going to actually jump right on in to my first look at Old School Essentials Classic Fantasy Rules Tome from Necrotic Gnome. It's written by Gavin Norman. It is available in print here in the U.S. from Exalted Funeral. The 288-page digest-sized hardcover is available for $40. And you can get the PDF over at DriveThruRPG for $20. I do want to point out that if you purchase the hardcover from Exalted Funeral, you also receive the PDF. It's something important to keep in mind. Of course, the gaming gang, thus the Dispatch, is affiliated with the One Bookshelf sites. So if you are going to visit, say, DriveThruRPG, please swing by, click on one of the banner ads. That way, if you happen to make a purchase, I get a little portion of that sale. And all those nickels, dimes, and quarters really do help add up and keep the gaminggang.com around. So Luke says, by the way, they had their first Dungeon Master session for D&D last Thursday, and it went well. Nice. Very good. Just make sure, number one priority, everybody has a good time. Don't worry about the rules. Do not worry about the rules. Make sure everybody has a good time. And everybody has their little moment in the spotlight as well. So let's swing on over to the other camera, because here I've got the Old School Essentials Classic Fantasy Rules Tome. I have heard great things about this. It is super, super popular. There are a lot of adventures for Old School Essentials that are out as well. All week long, Old School Essentials is our feature here on the Dispatch as well as on the channel. So tonight we're taking a look at the Rules Tome. Tomorrow, I'm actually interviewing Gavin Norman, and we are going to take a look at the first issue of the Carcass Crawler zine, which is devoted to Old School Essentials. Wednesday, we are going to take a look at the Advanced Fantasy Players Tome. And then on Thursday, I plan on uploading a standalone video, which will be for the Referees Tome for Advanced Fantasy as well. All right, so let's take a look at the back here. The essential old school game of fantastic adventure, monsters, and magic. This book contains the complete game rules, 7 fantastic character classes, full equipment lists, over 100 classic spells, over 200 fearsome monsters, over 150 wondrous magic items, and full guidelines for creating and running adventures. Simple rules let imagination and fast-paced action take the spotlight. Clear, modern presentation makes the game easy to learn and quick to reference. Compatible with decades of classic adventures and supplements. It says, want more classes, spells, monsters, and magic? Try Old School Essentials Advanced Fantasy, which I mentioned last week is back in print. Those 2 tomes are available at Exalted Funeral, and they are each $40 as well. So let's jump on in. Strangely enough, I did mention this previously, I purchased this for my nephew Cameron. So I gave him a copy of this for Christmas. And he's gotten to read through this long before I had an opportunity to take a peek. So I find it kind of interesting that I've got a review copy, but I had purchased the copy for him, and I've been holding off on taking a peek at that, at this until now. So it looks like we've got some references, some info here. Looks like this would normally be something we'd find on a Game Master's screen. So jumping on in here. We've got quite a few artists throughout. So some of the things that I have heard, okay, so this is version 1.3. This is the third printing. And of course, if you check out the interview tomorrow night with Gavin Norman, it is going to be recorded. It's not going to be live because he's over in Europe. If I remember right, I think he's in Ireland off the top of my head. So we are going to talk about the upcoming Kickstarter for the 2 box sets and some other things that are in the pipeline, I guess we'll say, so to speak. So talking about this game. So my understanding is one of the things that really works nicely with Old School Essentials is that it is concise and it is to the point, as opposed to being written in High Gygaxian or anything like that. Cool artwork there. So going through our characteristics. So essentially this is basic and expert. And it's MC has just popped in and said the same exact thing I was just about to say. And it is basically basic and expert with better editing. It's really, really what it is. Melwinius from York has joined us. We haven't seen Melwinius in a while. Good to see you. So essentially, that's what this is. Essentially. Yeah, essentially Old School Essentials. It is BX. And it is boiled down to be easily understood by the players as well as the referee. One thing I have heard, though, and of course I will tackle that in my review, is as far as actually running the game, there is not as much page space, page real estate devoted to the actual running of a game. So Old School Essentials is really aimed at someone who is established in playing or running role-playing games, as opposed to somebody who's going to be brand new at the table. So what I would probably recommend if somebody wanted to jump into Old School Essentials, and once again, once I read through this and do a review, because of course I have not read this, I'm seeing this for the first time. I'm sure a lot of you out there have seen this far more than I have. But what I would probably recommend is picking this up and maybe even getting the basic and expert PDFs over at Dungeon Masters Guild, because even though the rules are much easier to comprehend and digest with Old School Essentials, there is still those examples of play and discussion about actual gameplay, running a campaign, things like that, in those books that are probably missing from this. My understanding is that originally, when this originally came out, it was BX Essentials. It was not Old School Essentials. It was BX Essentials. And it was really, Gavin Norman had just kind of put it together for himself to utilize. MC says, nothing wrong with it just being BX. It's good. Oh, yeah, I'm right with you. I completely agree. Helga says their 9-year-old daughter was disappointed when she wouldn't let her look up monster stats during her first game session. So the brat memorized the monster manual before session 2. Jeez. Yeah, I don't allow my players any access to like monster books, magic and treasure books, anything like that. All right, so we got our weapons and armor, talking about different qualities of the weapons as well. Vehicles and mounts. But as you can see, this information is just provided in nice bite-sized nuggets that are easily for you to digest and understand. And that might turn some people off. Some people out there, they want all that extra fluff when it comes to their rules presentation. I had to chuckle because Mark H. Walker, a friend of mine who owns Flying Pig Games as well as Tiny Battle Games. Yeah. Second, I almost said Tiny Epic Games. It's like, no. That's Gameland. That's not Mark. He had commented about Tales from the Loop because I shared the unboxing and first look video for Tales from the Loop, the board game. And he commented on Twitter talking about he thinks the artwork from Tales from the Loop is cool. He thinks the concept of the game is very cool. But come on, 149-page rule book? He doesn't need that much fluff. I thought to myself, you're complaining about 140 pages of rules? Come on, Mark. Coming from a guy who designed a role-playing game that I reviewed and didn't care much for because it was just too short. It was just, okay, here's the rule, here's the rule, here's the rule, here's the rule, here's the rule. It's like, you got to have a little bit of fluff. MC says, Tom Moldvay was one hell of a writer, but the arrangement of the original BX books was a bit tough to follow. Owning searchable PDFs of them is better, but sometimes you just love to have a book. Yeah, I understand that. I know that Dungeon Masters Guild also does print on demand for the old D&D books as well. The one thing that I never liked about, and we started to see a lot of the D&D stuff with the hole punch so that you could put it into a binder. I did not care for that at all. So Melwinia says they bought Tank Duel from GMT after my first look. That's a cool game. I enjoy that game. All right, so we got our magic. So once again, we're going to have some spells, talking about spell books and spell research. And then I say it time and time again, one of the aspects of the old school Renaissance that I really like is magic spells are short, to the point, not sitting there reading a couple of pages about a spell. And I say it time and time again, the game master has enough things running through their head that they need to juggle as without having to have like a bunch of different spells and all this minutia about each of the spells, like at their fingertips or on the tip of their tongue, essentially. So here we see these are the cleric spells. Of course, there is a box set for the classic fantasy rules where we have things broken up into little hardcover booklets. That is the new print run that's going to be up on Kickstarter in February. And of course, you can pick them up on the secondary market right now. The previous editions, and they're selling for like $200-$300. So I'm very happy to see the box sets going to arrive back on Kickstarter in February for both the classic fantasy as well as advanced fantasy. So we are looking at, these are the magic user spells. So essentially, you're going to break down like death spell, duration, instant, range, 240 feet, up to 4d8 hit dice of creatures within a 60-foot cube area must save versus death or die instantly. Restrictions, undead and creatures with greater than 7 hit dice are unaffected. all you need to know. And you can come up with your own sort of, what does the spell look like? How do you cast the spell? That's one of the aspects too that I think the old school does really well, is that magic can work however you want it to work. If you want your magic to be more along the lines of what you read in Robert E. Howard's Conan stories, by all means. If you want it more like Jack Vance's Dying Earth, which of course Vancian magic is essentially the way the magic works in D&D. I've got a spell, I cast it, and now I've forgotten it. I gotta remember it again. I gotta study it again. And in my opinion, you have a lot of leeway with how do you cast the spell? What are the like visual aspects of the spell? It's one of the things I like about Dungeon Crawl Classics with the various spells is that you actually roll when you have the spell, and there's a table for every spell, just different aspects of what your spell looks like as opposed to anybody else casting that spell. Thought that was pretty cool. I like that as well. Hazards and challenges, dungeon adventuring. Oh, there's the idol. There's a statue. Gonna go get those gems. I like the artwork in this too. So we get a little bit of info about wilderness adventuring, encounters. So of course now we're into the referee facing content. See, now this looks like this would be straight off of a cover of a Dungeon Crawl Classics Adventures. So Madman says that they've been playing, their players have been playing for years, even DMs some themselves. The Madman likes to throw in monsters from other sources to keep them on their toes. So I tend to find that I have never told players what a monster is, what a creature is. If I'm running Call of Cthulhu and they run across deep ones, I describe what the deep ones are like, the noises they're making, the like croaking and blah. But I never say, oh, well, they're deep ones. Now, I have players who've played Call of Cthulhu long enough. They're going to know they're deep ones, but not everybody. All right, so now we're getting into, this looks like this is the referee facing content. So we're at page 136, talking about the referee's role, running the game, monsters and NPCs, adventure scenarios. So giving you some ideas. That has a very cudgel sort of vibe to it, if you're familiar with Jack Vance's stories. Talking about designing a dungeon, designing wilderness, base towns, awarding XP. So here's a question for everybody. Now, you may have missed it, but I did a first look at the Monsters of the Multiverse for Dungeons and Dragons. I did receive that gift set, the rules expansion gift set, but I mainly just focused on the Game Master screen, the Dungeon Master screen, I should say, and Monsters of the Multiverse. So has it gotten to the point in 5th edition Dungeons and Dragons that gold doesn't matter? Is that like, cash really doesn't matter anymore? I think, in my opinion, I think it has gotten to that point because of experience points are kind of a thing of the past too. Most adventures nowadays, especially those that come out from Wizards of the Coast, kind of hand wave the XPs. In fact, the last Strixhaven came out, and they essentially told you right up front, don't bother with experience points. It's just milestones. And to me, that sort of gets to the point where now that who cares about gold then? If it's not magical treasure or resources that you can utilize, who cares? And it seemed like that from the way the adventure was written as well. Was sort of like, who cares? Who cares about gold? So everything didn't cost hardly anything. It's like, yeah, that's 2 gold pieces. Okay. Hey, the gelatinous cube. Everybody's favorite, the gelatinous cube. Glad to see we've got images throughout here. I was thinking the bestiary section wouldn't really have a whole lot of images, essentially because, I keep saying essentially. Yeah, we're looking at old school essentially. I thought it wouldn't have too many images simply because this book is aimed towards people who are familiar with the original rules, or at least familiar with fantasy role-playing games. But I'm glad to see that I am wrong. Melina says, the end is not the RPG. The way tells the story. Yes, Grasshopper. Yep, it's the journey. It's the adventure. It's the fun you have at the table. That's the important stuff. I've mentioned this before, that my best friend, Elliot Miller, he remembers Mask of Nyarlathotep. He remembers chunks of Masks of Nyarlathotep, which I ran. Oh my gosh. I ran it when it first came out. So that has got to be, 35 years ago or something like that. And I mean, he can remember like details about, game sessions, but he couldn't tell you what he had for lunch. So, yeah, it's kind of funny how that works like that. So 245 Trioxin said, heard there might be a new Kickstarter for this coming soon. Trying to hold off till then. You will find out more about it in tomorrow's interview with Gavin Norman. So I am sharing that on tomorrow's show, as well as a first look at the Carcass Crawler Zine, issue 1. I do want to also send out a big thank you to Kristen over at Exalted Funeral for shipping out the 2 volumes for the Advanced Fantasy, making sure that I would have them for this week to share with everybody out there. So thank you very much to Kristen. I'm probably going to do an interview with Kristen and talk all things Exalted Funeral, because they have a lot of indie role-playing games and some OSR stuff as well. That's where I got my copy of Ultraviolet Grasslands and Mothership that I shared with everybody. Right, so now we're looking at some subtables for encounters. Get NPC encounters, strongholds. We had a section earlier about strongholds, but I think that was more player facing. Treasures. Some miscellaneous items as well. Some breakdowns of some of the various different magic items. I am a big fan of magic items that I guess I would say that have boons and banes at the same time. One of my favorite magic items I ran across in an adventure And this was just some like third party OSR adventure, but it was a sword that could detect if someone was lying. But if you owned the sword, you could not lie. I was like, yeah, I like that. That's pretty cool. And the sword is hanging on a wall. And as they approach, they hear a voice come from the sword saying, "Help, I'm trapped." And there's a trap. So, sword wasn't lying. All right, so we're just taking a look at some of the magic items here. Scrolls and maps. Magic weapons. Sentient swords, yes. Yes, you can have your own Mournblade, your own Stormbringer. Extraordinary powers. Sensory powers. So essentially psionics. So Melwinius mentioned that the Player's Aid mentioned me in one of their videos. And they said it was good to see I was well and healthy again at the last con. Yeah, last con I went to, well, last, major con I went to was Gen Con. Very cool. Yeah, the gents over at the Players 8, they're really nice. They're pretty cool. I always say hi to them whenever I run across them. Yeah, I did see them at Gen Con. Everybody had our masks on and that. But yeah, it was funny because I saw Grant and I was like, "Hey, Grant, what's going on?" And I didn't see Alexander standing there. And I'm like, I was thinking, "Oh, where's Alexander at?" And then I look, he's right there. I was like, "How did I miss you?" I was like, "Were you invisible or something?" I have to get a kick out of the Grant and Alexander because they're obviously the Players Aid is focused on war games and stuff, but they like their role playing games and things like that too. So I noticed. I'm trying to remember. I think it's Alexander is the one who plays stuff with his kids or son or what have you. So, all right, that is Old School Essentials Classic Fantasy Rules Tome. We're just kind of paging on through little stream of consciousness as we were taking a look. Once again, this is available. As you can see, this is kind of a digest size book. It's not tiny. It clocks in 288 pages. We also have a couple of bookmarks with it as well. You can pick this up with the PDF from Exalted Funeral here in the US. I believe there is a Necrotic Gnome store, like online store in the UK that you can order this if you're outside the United States. But you get the PDF along with the hardcover for $40. It is 288 pages. And of course, you can get the PDF alone over at DriveThruRPG for $20. This looks really cool. I'm digging this. I am definitely digging this. So I am going to be diving in. I'm going to do my best to get a review of this before the month is out. I know I don't have a lot of time to get it out there. And of course, it doesn't help that the laptop with all my software and everything else is being repaired. Hopefully I get it back sometime next week. Don't know if that's going to happen or not. MC says they backed the Old School Essentials Advanced Fantasy Kickstarter. They'd rather play OSC Advanced Fantasy than AD&D, to be honest. All simplicity of basic and expert with options of AD&D. It is great. Yes, we are going to actually take a look at the Player's Tome for Advanced Fantasy. This will be on Wednesday's show. And then on Thursday, I am going to have a standalone video. If I can actually get the graphics done for the opening. Once again, that was on my other laptop. but I think I should be able to pull it off. Or worst comes to worst, I just don't have this usual video opening for it. But yes, these are back in stock. I am super excited that these are available again, because on the secondary market, these were going for $80 to $100, because I really wanted to get these. But I did not want to spend $80 to $100 each on something that I knew was going to be back in print. So they are available right now at Exalted Funeral. Now, how long it's going to be before those sell out, I don't know, because they sold out pretty quick. Just like those box sets that we're going to see another round of with new artwork up on Kickstarter in February. When those come out, those are going to sell out pretty quick, and then they're going to be like $300 on the secondary market again. So Omanal says they want the box set so people aren't using the same books. Good to see you, Omanal, by the way. So, did not say hello. So if I accidentally have not said hello to anybody in chat, I apologize. I'm usually pretty good at saying howdy to everybody. So Melwinia says, well, I'll have to look how to get old school essentials here in Europe. Get the PDF. Get the PDFs pretty easily. So tomorrow, interview with Gavin Norman, and we're going to take a look at the first issue of Carcass Crawler, which is the old school essential zine. I believe we got some new classes and adventures, some new monsters as well. There's a bunch of adventures out there for old school essentials as well. And you can utilize either classic fantasy or advanced fantasy, because, as MC pointed out, the advanced fantasy is not AD&D. It is not AD&D cleaned up like old school essentials is basic expert cleaned up. So it's, edited to make more sense and easily digested, like I said before. But advanced fantasy is not AD&D. What it is some of the best parts of Advanced Dungeons and Dragons ported over to old school essentials. So it's still got the relatively rules light approach. And I know some people are like, how is basic D&D rules light? It's rules light. Don't argue with me. It is rules light compared to a lot of different stuff out there. Yajin, hopefully I pronounced that correctly, has popped into chat. Omanal was asking, is the interview live or pre-recorded? It is pre-recorded because Gavin Norman lives over in, like I said, I think it was Ireland, but I know it's over in the UK. So it is, like 1 a.m. their time now. So yeah, just says, I'm not late. Well, I am wrapping up the show. So we're done with the first look at the classic fantasy rules tome. But as I mentioned, tomorrow night, please join me for my interview with Gavin Norman as we talk about old school essentials and the upcoming Kickstarter, as well as some of the adventures that are out there for OSC. And we will take a peek at Carcass Crawler. So MC says, no leather-bound tomes? For shame. I don't know. I have no idea. Omanal says, once he had all the additional books, advanced D&D got pretty bloated. If you were getting all those books that came after, like the books that came, well, granted, the trio of core books eventually got the Jeff Eastley artwork. But I'm talking about once you got past Monster Manual 2 is when what was it, like the Wilderness Survival Guide or something like that. Got to remember, I was already gone from D&D at that point. So it's like zip. I was already way deep into Call of Cthulhu by the time those Jeff Easley art cover books were coming out. So can't really tell you much. Really can't. I don't know much about second edition. Well, okay, I know a little bit about second edition, third edition, 3.5, 4. Obviously, I know a good amount about fifth edition. But as I try to point out to people all the time, this is not a Dungeons and Dragons channel. I have a lot of other games that I tackle. So, I apologize when I'm not like, oh, how could I have not known that little incidental piece of fluff? Damn me. Damn me to hell. There we go. Omanal says, yeah, wilderness, then Oriental Adventures. Yeah. That's not a word that we really utilize too much anymore. And Underworld. Lots of good stuff. Omanal says they tend to watch me at double speed when they're late and then they catch up. Okay, that might be kind of weird. All right. That is it for this time out. Once again, sorry about not having news tonight. No news probably for the next couple of weeks while I wait to get my my work laptop back. But we got to hang out. It's still almost an hour. So Omanal is in the middle of doing a review for Traveler 2300 AD, which I thought was kind of funny. I had somebody on Twitter trying to tell me that 2300 was not Traveler. It's like, yeah, it is. It's like, it was only Traveler 2300 AD, the first edition that came out. It is Traveler. MC says if you order direct from Necrotic Gnome, it's shipped from the UK if you're in Europe. I think that is correct. I think they just recently opened an online store for them to ship to Europe. Pretty sure. Omanal says, hey, I loved Oriental Adventures. It made European style seem inferior. Oh, I know. I'm just saying the word Oriental. And I still know people who use that word to describe people. And I tell them what I heard somebody say one time. Rugs are Oriental. People are Asian. All right. If you like this video, by all means, please give it a quick thumbs up. Subscribe to the Gaming Gang channel if you haven't already. If you do subscribe, ding that bell. It'll not only let you know when the Dispatch streams live Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday evenings at 7 p.m. Central right here on YouTube. It'll also let you know when I upload other videos, such as my upcoming review of Dungeons & Dragons Original Adventures Reincarnated Volume 2, Isle of Dread from Goodman Games. So stay tuned. This will be hitting this week. And I also received a good amount of Paizo stuff. But once again, I don't have the laptop to shoot to put together the opening graphics. So we're going to have to wait on that. But yeah, I got a bunch of those goodies too. All right. Anyway, don't forget, when you're not watching videos on the Gaming Gang channel, be sure to visit thegaminggang.com. Maybe not for the next couple of weeks because it'll be kind of quiet over there. But normally, swing on over for the latest in tabletop gaming news, reviews, and a whole lot more. And of course, if you were watching live, thank you very much. Always appreciate that. If you took part in chat, bonus points, extra XP for you for doing that, because then I don't feel like a complete dope talking to nobody, which I do with my other videos. So there's that. And of course, I know there are a lot of people out there who don't have an opportunity to watch live. However, you watch videos on the channel, even if you're watching on Memorex, thank you very much. It is very much appreciated. Don't forget, tomorrow I will have my interview with Necrotic Gnome's very own Gavin Norman. And we will also take a look at Carcass Crawler issue 1. So everybody enjoy the rest of your morning, evening, afternoon, whatever time it is in your neck of the woods. And of course, here's hoping each and every one of you always get to enjoy plenty of great gaming with your gang. See you tomorrow. Oh, hey, you're still here. Well, if that's the case, by all means, subscribe to the Gaming Gang channel by clicking right here. Check out the latest episode of the Gaming Gang Dispatch, or find out what YouTube recommends you check out from the channel. And of course, once again, I'm Jeff McAleer. Thanks for watching.